All right, today we're going to talk about competition and market structures. So, a little review to start. What is a market? A market is a medium that allows buyers and sellers of a specific good or service to interact in order to facilitate an exchange. So, what that means is buyers and sellers need to come together to agree over purchasing a good or service and the price of that good or service that the seller is willing to sell it and the buyer is willing to buy it. So, what does it mean about what are market structures? Well, you can look at it this way: market structures are the organizational elements and other characteristics of a market. So, how those markets are structured, and looking specifically at what kind of competition is uh, is in existence within those market structures, the nature and degree of the competition among firms operating in the same industry. So when they compete for that buyer, what kind of competition uh, is evident in the market structure? So there are four different types of market structures: perfect competition, monopolistic competition, an oligopoly, and a monopoly. And so now we'll look at each of these four types of market structures individually. So, perfect competition is characterized by a large number of well informed independent buyers and sellers who exchange identical products. Five conditions of perfect competition must be evident for it to be perfect competition: a large number of buyers and sellers deal in identical products, each buyer and seller acts independently, buyers and sellers need to be reasonably informed about their products and the prices of those products, and buyers and sellers are free to enter into, conduct, and get out of business. And just a side note, perfect competition really is non existent in the real world. It is used by economists to really look at what a market would look like if perfect competition really existed, and it's usually used basically as a starting point to look at the other types of markets. Next, monopolistic competition is a market structure that has all conditions of perfect competition except for identical products. Minor differentiation is used to gain control of the market. So when you look at things like tennis shoes are very, very similar products, but a lot of times, whatever company that it makes the shoes, they differentiate their shoe from a competitor's shoe, and then use advertisement, which we'll get into here in a moment, to try to make the consumer believe that their product is better. So, product differentiation. What does that mean? It can be a real or an imagined difference between competing products in the same industry. Could be from store location, store design, when you're looking at specific stores, different payment methods, delivery, packaging, services. So, how does one company seem to have an advantage over the other? Is it packaging? Is it delivery? Is it service? And those are some of the service type things. And then you also have actual product differentiation with branding. Um, it is possible for some to just evolve a product that already exists and differentiate it from the existing products in the existing lines. So, how is there competition within this monopolistic competition? A lot of times, like I said before, they use advertising, giveaways, or other promotional campaigns to convince buyers that the product is better than another. These types of things are branding. A lot of times it's branding if it is not promotional. Um, if the advertisement can convince you that a product is better than its competitors, the producer can charge more. So if you believe that Nike is nicer than New Balance, then you are willing to buy Nike even if it is more expensive than New Balance products. Monopolistic competition. Similar products have a certain price range. Monopolistic aspect is the seller's ability to raise the price in that price range. And competitive aspect is if as a seller raises the price, buyers will forget about minor differences and change brands. So the monopolistic element here is the seller's ability to raise a price within that range. And then the competitive aspect or element is that if they outprice their product, there's enough competition and enough similar types of goods that they will just change brands and buy a different product. Okay, the next type of market structure is an oligopoly, which is a market structure in which a few very large sellers dominate the industry. Firms can cause a shakeup of output, sales, and prices in a particular industry. So we'll look at some examples of an oligopoly, but it is really when just a very few large sellers dominate the industry. They control many of the different elements. Things like Pepsi and Coke, they own almost all of the other different types of pop. So they control output, sales, and prices in the pop industry. McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's would be a couple of other examples, and then even larger, more visible examples would be domestic airlines, automobile industry, and then cellular service. They have a very interdependent behavior. Each firm within an oligopoly matches the other or keeps up with each other. Due to the influence one firm can have on consumers, they don't necessarily compete very often for dropping their prices because they don't have to. Although if they collude or if there's collusion, which is the formal agreement to set prices or behave in a cooperative manner, that is actually against the law. It's known as price fixing, which is agreeing to charge the same or similar prices for a product. And this can usually cause prices to be higher than they would in competitive environments because the oligopoly companies basically they pay attention to their competitors and they price appropriately without necessarily starting any sort of price war and dropping their prices. But they can definitely kind of set their price and everyone kind of stays pat. So when one increases, usually others will increase, and when one decreases, usually others will follow, sometimes creating a price war. This can be short but intense. Most of the times oligopolies work together, although not formally, and they compete on a non-price basis. A monopoly, which is a market structure with only one seller of a particular product, and probably the best example that everyone would be familiar with would be a local cable company. If you only have the option of Cox Cable has a monopoly in your neighborhood. So there are different types of monopolies. There's a natural monopoly, which is a market situation where the costs of production are minimized by having a single firm produce the product, which would be things like public utilities. Cities would prefer to have a monopoly so you don't have different power lines, different utilities, different water lines run because of competition. So the natural monopoly is ideal for utilities. A franchise, which is exclusive rights to do business in a certain area without competition, also accept a certain amount of government regulation, which these can lead to economies of scale, which is a situation in which average of cost of production falls as the firm gets larger. So the larger the monopoly, they can actually cut their cost of production. There's a geographical monopoly, which is based upon the absence of sellers in a certain geographical area. So if it's a gas station in a small town, or a gas station in the middle of nowhere on a highway, they technically would have a geographical monopoly. Small town drugstore would be another example. A technological monopoly would be based upon the ownership or control of a manufacturing method, process, or other scientific advance. Things that are based upon patents, so an exclusive right to manufacture, use, or sell any new and useful invention for a specific period. If you have that patent over a technology, then you would have a technological monopoly. The only person or company with the rights to um, manufacture or use that method or process. Copyright is another example that would fall under the technological exclusive rights of authors or artists to publish, sell, or reproduce their work for their lifetime plus 50 years. And a government monopoly is monopoly the government owns and operates. This would be things like uh, defense systems and things like that. Mostly involve products or services that private industries can't adequately provide, such as national defense. Now they do contract some of that out, but they are the ones that are in charge of that type of defense. So that wraps it up for today. Please leave your comments below, and we'll refresh this topic when we get back to class. Thank you.